I live in an area with a lot of gender variety, so I have to be kind of careful when teaching my daughter about feminine energy, even though it's something that really would have helped me when I was growing up, to prepare me for situations that I've been in as an adult. I thought that my mother taught me that I should be a woman and do the woman's role. But upon learning about feminine energy, I've actually learned that even though she was Christian and taught me such things as women shouldn't wear pants, things like that, I found out through learning about feminine energy that a lot of what my mother did in her relationship was actually very much her being in her masculine energy. So what do I do when, my daughter necessarily has to speak as if she believes that all people, no matter their gender assigned at birth or gender they choose now, no matter their gender presentation, no matter what roles they pick, that they should be treated equally and have the same expectations of them. So what I tell her is that this is stuff that needs to be kept secret because it is upsetting to people to hear about. And yet, I do bring up many examples of the people around her to show that it is the case, even though if you talk to these people directly, they would say that it's not the case. So I tell her this is advice that, we just talk about privately. And she, as an adult, will decide her own balance of how much she will follow this advice and how much she will believe that all people have the same expectations that you can have of them and should be treated the exact same way. She gave me a very excellent example of this, actually, when we were talking about the very silly thing that a man might say they want to help you, but then they are more likely to help if they just come up with the idea on their own to help you. And if you ask them for help directly, they are less likely to help you. And she said, well, if I am on the bus and there is a car crash and there's only men on the bus, I'm not going to wait for one of them to offer to call my parent for me. I'm going to ask them to let me use their phone to call a parent. And that was excellent on her part. So one of the main things that we talk about a lot, and it's partly because of our own personal family dynamic, is that men in general, they say they like communication, but the more you talk, the less they are willing to do. It is very frustrating. And so we have a rule in our family that we have a rule between her and I, that if she wants to talk either about mama, either doing so much, she in the house, we need to talk about it privately. If we want to talk about how her stepdad, who is my husband, does so much, we need to do that privately, because either way, it seems to make my husband upset. When you bring these things up in words, it brings men into their logical mindset. So they will want to then logically think of how either they do so much or how actually you don't do enough and they shouldn't do anything more for you. So I've talked about this before on this channel. Unfortunately, it is the case that you need to keep men helping you and doing other things for you from their emotional mind and not from their logical mind. With their logical mind, they're always going to come up with some logic for why they need to not help you. But if they're coming from a place of love and they're not thinking about, the balance of, oh, have you done enough? Do I need to do a little more? That's what's going to keep him providing and being the most helpful partner that he can be.